this episode, we're going to focus on the most powerful identities in any cloud environment, the ones that sit at the very top of the trust hierarchy and can override nearly every other control. These identities are often referred to as root accounts or emergency break glass accounts, and while they are necessary for certain rare situations, they also represent concentrated risk. If a root-level identity is compromised, the attacker may be able to bypass normal guardrails, modify identity policies, disable logging, and fundamentally reshape the environment. Because of that risk, these accounts must be treated differently from routine administrative roles. The goal here is to understand what root and break glass access actually mean, why they exist, and how to control them with discipline rather than convenience. By the end, you should clearly see why these identities are both essential and dangerous, and how structured governance turns them into controlled emergency tools rather than everyday shortcuts. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. At the highest level of a cloud tenant, there is typically an account or identity with unrestricted authority over the entire environment. This root-level identity can create and delete accounts, modify global identity settings, attach powerful policies, and alter core governance controls. It exists because there must be some ultimate authority capable of recovering from misconfiguration, restoring access, or performing foundational setup tasks. Beginners sometimes assume that root is simply another administrator role, but it is qualitatively different because it often sits outside the normal role hierarchy. If a standard administrator role is misconfigured or deleted, root can restore it. That unique authority is precisely why root access must be tightly controlled and rarely used. Break glass accounts serve a related but distinct purpose, providing emergency access when normal administrative pathways are unavailable or compromised. These accounts are designed for rare scenarios such as identity provider outages, misapplied policies that lock out administrators, or large-scale incidents requiring rapid intervention. The term break glass reflects the idea of an emergency tool behind protective glass, used only when necessary and under scrutiny. Beginners sometimes treat break glass accounts as convenient backup admin accounts for daily use, which defeats their purpose and increases risk. A properly governed break glass identity is heavily monitored, access is logged in detail, and its use triggers review. Without discipline, break glass becomes just another privileged identity and loses its special status. The first control principle for root and break glass access is minimization of usage, because power that is used frequently becomes normalized and therefore less scrutinized. Routine administrative tasks should be performed through scoped roles that enforce least privilege and separation of duties. Root access should be reserved for foundational configuration and exceptional recovery scenarios. By minimizing usage, you reduce exposure opportunities and limit the number of audit events involving extreme authority. Beginners often underestimate how quickly high-privilege habits form when root is easy to access. Making root inconvenient to use for normal work is actually a security feature, not a flaw. Strong authentication is non-negotiable for these identities because compromise at this level is catastrophic. Multi-factor authentication should be mandatory, and in many environments, additional safeguards such as hardware-based authentication devices are appropriate. Authentication secrets for root and break glass accounts should not be shared casually or stored in easily accessible locations. Beginners sometimes think that strong passwords alone are sufficient, but password-only protection leaves these accounts vulnerable to phishing and credential reuse attacks. Enhanced authentication requirements reduce the likelihood of compromise and signal the seriousness of these accounts. Protection must match privilege level. Credential storage and access procedures also require structured governance to prevent misuse. For break glass accounts, credentials may be stored in secure vault systems with controlled retrieval processes, requiring approval and logging. Access to these credentials should itself be limited to a small number of trusted individuals, ideally with separation of duties between those who authorize access and those who use it. Beginners often imagine a single administrator memorizing the credentials, but that creates both operational and security risk. A documented, auditable process ensures that emergency access remains available while still controlled. Structure prevents secrecy from becoming vulnerability. Monitoring and alerting for root and break glass activity must be immediate and high visibility because any use of these accounts is inherently significant. Every login, configuration change, or policy modification performed by these identities should generate alerts for security teams. This is not because every use is malicious, but because every use deserves review. In many environments, break glass account usage automatically triggers a post-incident analysis to verify necessity and impact. Beginners sometimes believe that monitoring alone is sufficient control, but monitoring must be paired with policy and process to be meaningful. Visibility combined with accountability deters misuse. Separation of duties plays a critical role in controlling these accounts, especially when multiple administrators are involved. Ideally, no single individual should both hold permanent root credentials and have authority to approve their own use. By dividing responsibilities, organizations reduce insider risk and encourage transparent access procedures. This structure also protects administrators from suspicion by ensuring that emergency actions are reviewed and documented. Beginners may see separation as cumbersome, but it builds trust and resilience in governance. Distributed responsibility strengthens control. Limiting the number of root and break glass accounts is another important design decision because duplication increases attack surface and complicates monitoring. There should be as few such identities as operationally possible, and their existence should be documented clearly. Excessive emergency accounts defeat the purpose of special treatment and create confusion about which account should be used in a crisis. Each additional high-privilege identity is another potential target. Simplicity and clarity support stronger oversight. Regular review of these accounts ensures they remain aligned with governance policies and technical safeguards. Authentication methods should be tested, credential rotation should be scheduled, and monitoring alerts should be validated periodically. Without maintenance, even well-designed controls degrade over time. Beginners sometimes assume that once configured, root governance remains stable indefinitely. In reality, environments evolve, personnel change, and control mechanisms must adapt. Ongoing review keeps emergency access reliable without weakening its protection. Documentation and training are essential so that teams understand when and how to use break glass access appropriately. Clear guidance about emergency criteria prevents casual or premature invocation of high-privilege accounts. Training reinforces the expectation that break glass is exceptional and temporary. Documentation also ensures that emergency procedures can be followed even if key personnel are unavailable. Preparedness reduces panic during incidents and ensures that powerful access is exercised responsibly. Ultimately, controlling root and break glass access with tight processes and strong monitoring is about recognizing that concentrated power demands concentrated governance. These accounts exist to preserve control during crisis, not to simplify everyday operations. Minimizing usage, enforcing strong authentication, structuring credential access, monitoring aggressively, separating duties, limiting duplication, reviewing regularly, and documenting procedures all work together to contain the risk inherent in extreme privilege. On the exam, scenarios involving emergency access often test whether you prioritize monitoring and controlled use over convenience. In real cloud environments, disciplined management of root and break glass accounts ensures that your ultimate authority remains a safeguard rather than a vulnerability.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.